American stock market picked up another 131 points today, 9,731, approaching 10,000 again. This is pure madness. And they're setting everyone up. It's a lie. They're setting everyone up for the next obvious, far more severe crash and collapse. If you look at the featured stories at rents.com, the second featured story really sums it all up. It's called Massive Collapse Nears. The stories,
exactly, I read that. Exactly.
They're good. There are 4 of them for all of you, and I hope you'll read them. Systemic failure approaches. Government reports point to fiscal doomsday. Stock market crash dead ahead, says Gerald Salenti and others. 3 government reports point to fiscal doomsday. All right, I don't understand how anyone can read that and not get it unless they're on life support system somewhere in a hospital, because it's obvious what's going on here. This is a false lull. It's like the phony war that Adrian just mentioned right before the major outbreak of World War II. And people are just, it's the end of summer. They're starting to think about holidays up here. It's amazing. They're, of course, being kept in bondage, a fear bondage by this pandemic, this swine flu pandemic. The first, by the way, the first of our vaccines up here in North America, Adrian, are now being used on children in Illinois, Texas, Tennessee, and a few other states. It's called Flu Mist, which is the nasal spray, and which uses a live virus. What they don't tell the little children and their parents is that the little children will begin to shed viruses, live viruses, almost immediately, and are told to keep away from anyone with a compromised immune system for at least 3 weeks. That's how sick they'll be.
Well, the thing is that somebody somewhere is obviously looking for a generalized pandemic, and a really tough one at that, because if you look at whatever it is that actually came up naturally, call it the H1N1 virus or whatever, we were just in the midst of our winter. The Southern Hemisphere is coming out of winter right now, and although the media and the government tried to whip up a bit of a frenzy about the dangers of the swine flu and so forth, Argentina, which had a particularly cold and particularly humid and wet winter, there was no pandemic at all. It was all just in the media, it was all in the press, but people just got the regular colds that you get every year. So in a way, as far as the truth behind the matter on this whole thing is concerned, there is no real danger, no pandemic danger. Now, my fear is, are they creating a new one, and are they going to unleash it in the northern hemisphere's winter? That is one of the things that I think we have to take very much into consideration that they might be trying to do.
And I think you would agree with me that, quite frankly, anything is possible.
Yeah, you know, you were just talking about the stock markets, and now it's at 9,700, and those 4 splendid articles are on your website. I mean, can't people realize that when you are confronted with a blatant contradiction, somebody somewhere is either lying, or they're pulling the wool over your eyes, or they're just downright ignorant.
Right.
If we have banks and companies and an economy that is getting worse and worse, and sales levels that are getting worse and worse, and jobs that are being lost all over, how can you possibly have a stock market bouncing back? The impression one gets is that this is like a boiler, that they're just letting the steam get stronger and stronger. The higher the market, the Dow Jones rises and the other stock markets make believe that nothing is happening, the bigger it's going to blow. And when it does, this time there's going to be a particularly nasty effect, because when you had the stock market falling through or the banks falling through in September 2008, there was a lot of surprise, but people said, okay, let's find a solution for it. But when you have a second crisis, it will have a particularly demoralizing effect. And that, I think, is something that, seen from the point of view of our country down here, where we are quite used to these sort of crises, we can tell that the American people, unfortunately, and even the Europeans, are in for a rather nasty fall.
Yeah, they're being set up. They're talking about a recovery. Folks, there's no such thing as a jobless recovery. Unemployment is continuing to climb. Even Greenspan admits it's going to go much higher. there is no recovery. I think, well, all of our listeners, Adrian, understand that. You're speaking to an incredibly wise audience here. But the average American who thinks he or she is actually informed by watching the talking head newscasts just doesn't get it. And Adrian's point about when you have a diametrically opposed set of scenarios, someone's lying, and someone is lying big time. All right, we'll be right back.